group study exchange. Now, they would have a team leader who had to be a Rotarian, and he would take 5 business and professional men exchanging with another country. Now, um, the other men who were in it were not Rotarians, but they should be picked from different parts of the culture of the United States, because the group study exchange, these 5 men would go to the country, and then that country that they went to would send over here to have the 5 people come with their Rotarian leader. Now, when there were changes in this exchange, when there was from some other countries, Harold was not necessarily, in part of that, except he was, of course. uh, but we had exchanges here from Brazil and from all different parts of the world, uh, when they were here, when they were staying in Sayville for a week, we each took one of these men from whatever country was having the exchange with. So of course I volunteered right away to have. It was very interesting to have like someone from Brazil or someone from uh, uh, oh, Africa, and it was. I loved having them. And if I wasn't having them, I at least had them here for meals. um, so anyway, that was part of group study exchange, and Harold was very much involved with that. And I thought that should be in. We had other people come, from other countries, uh, and when we would have them here in our country, I always got to meet them and got them at least for some meals here. But anytime any of them were around in this area at all, I'd always volunteer that I'd take. Oh, the man from Nairobi was very interesting. They are supposed to learn how we eat. So I would cook, what I normally would cook. Uh, when I mentioned Nairobi there, this was a very interesting man. He worked in a bank. He was a banker. I mean, he was, one of the more, he spoke quite a bit of English. Uh, he was a very tall black man, very tall. And one day he came down. They were going off. He was living here for a week. See, so he came down this one morning, and he had all these robes that they wore years ago in these various countries. Now this he came down dressed in this. Oh, I almost gasped when he came down the stairs. Because they were see, Judy and Wendy were gone by then. And so whoever I had staying here, they would be up in Judy Ann's room. That's right. That's where all these people would stay with me. But it would only be one at a time. You'd only have one person, even though you might have. There would be maybe 5 different groups. You'd only have each one, so they would be spread out. I would have just the one. But I was telling you about he came down dressed in these robes and whatnot that they wore years ago there. And that's what he was going to be wearing when he was going to all these things this one day. It was very interesting. One thing that was interesting about him, I was telling you, he was this very tall man. And one day it was a rainy day, and he had not brought any kind of rain gear with him. Uh, well, it was a warm country, Nairobi. He didn't have a lot of heavy things with him, which he should have. They should have told him over there exactly what he need. But anyway, here was this rainy day, and he didn't have a raincoat. And I said, Mutari, that was his name, Mutari. I said, Harold, I could give you a raincoat of Harold's for you to go out in. I said, but the sleeves are about his elbow. They were not the same size. I said, but it'll keep you dry anyway. So we went off that day dressed in, uh, I guess Harold didn't have to do anything when they were here, except So anyway, he went off this day dressed in this raincoat that was much too small for him. We had a lot of good laughs about things. But it was very interesting. See, they were supposed to learn our culture as well as the people from here. When they went to their country, they were to learn their culture. So I wondered why Rotary did away with that. But see, I'm not involved in that anymore. So I, they do. They have other programs now. But that was one that I thought was excellent. I loved it when somebody come and stay here for a week. No, they did that every year. They would have oh, going to some country. Whatever country wanted to have, then Rotary International would put two countries together. We had, I can remember we had, well, I said Denmark, I said, uh, and England. Uh, oh, wait a minute. Italy, Australia. Yes. As a matter of fact, I still hear from this fellow from Australia. I can tell you an interesting. You like stories. We won't get to foreign countries. We're going to say. I think we're going to stay at Rotary International this time. Anyway, when this fellow was in an exchange with Australia, he was from Adelaide, and he owned a furniture store over there, which was very interesting to meet someone like that. Uh, while he was here, uh, oh, he was coming to us for a week. He would spend a week with us, just living with us for a week to learn about the United States, and then some others, not Harold, but another country, another state, and so forth, was going to be taking uh, the people from Australia. But somehow or other, the Australians came here to Sayville. And so, of course, I was the first one to say, I'll take somebody. Well, I was saying how we still hear from him. He came here, and somehow or other, he found out he sang in the church choir of his church. And Harold said, I sing in the church choir of my church. He said, so Harold said to him, how about I have to go Thursday night to choir practice. How about coming along with me? Sing with my church choir. He said, and then Sunday morning, if you want to, you can sing in our church, which is what he did. So he was so nice, such a lovely man. I enjoyed him so much. There was some people you enjoy more than others, but I love this fellow from Australia. He was so nice. There was so much in common. You know, you know. So the one thing that I said that we remembered so vividly was the church choir. So he sang. He went Thursday night with Harold. They had the rehearsal that they have always on Thursday nights. Sunday morning, he went with Harold. There was an extra choir gown there. He sat in the choir and he sang with the choir because he used to singing, so it wasn't, he sang in a choir in his home. And I still hear from him. As a matter of fact, I had a birthday card from him this past year from this man in Australia. He was one of the younger ones, I believe. So might now, he might be in his 80s. Yeah. This was quite a while ago, you see. And then there was the group who would take them going to wherever they were to see around here. Uh, Not that was not part of New of no, they could go on their day off or something, they could go to New York City. You see, it was just our district, which was Long Island. So they went to a Rotary meeting lots of times in the different towns around here. We did not have so New York City was not they had free time, like an afternoon off, where program was not prepared for them. Because while they were like when they were here and staying in Sayville, now there would be 6 other people staying in Sayville, one each in a different house, and that would have been the club of Sayville would have taken those people. So lots of times we had the leader from the group because Harold was so involved. They were Australians, but they were not Rotarians. Just the leader was Rotarian. Uh, we had, as I say, you make a friend like that. Now, this was so many years ago. This was this was 1970. That would have been 1975 when Harold retired. Uh huh. Now, this fellow, as I told you, he he sent me a birthday card because Judy had found his name and address in my Christmas card lists. This is what she did for sending to people. She said, "Look, I didn't know this, you see, but she when she was here, she took my Christmas card list, and those are the people she contacted. But she didn't tell me any of that. She was trying to keep as much a surprise for me as possible. This is what she was doing. But this program was great. Now, like when they were here, they went out to Montauk. They went to uh, different any place, different places on the island, because that's what they were supposed to do. Not go into New York City, which was not our district, but, but they had a day off completely, and they also had like 2 different afternoons off where they could do what they wanted. No, I know different times. I can remember one time there was from the Philippine Islands, and at that time, by the time they were here, uh, there were women in Rotary. So there were some women from Rotary. Uh, some women were on the team also. So anyway, this I can remember this one afternoon. All of a sudden, I got a call because Harold used to have them come here first to have their little meeting downstairs, and I'd make a pot of tea and whatever they wanted. And they had their little meeting before they went off in different areas because they weren't all going to stay together. They were different areas. So anyway, I can remember this one. Let's see, what was I going to tell you? Oh, yes. 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 She called me up and said, "We have a free afternoon, and instead of going off to some place like to a shopping mall or something, can we come to your house?" What was It was 3 or 4 of these gals. I said, "Of course you can." So she said, "Well, we always felt so comfortable at your house." So anyway, I said, "Of course you can come here." So of course it was afternoon because they were going to have to go back to their where they were staying for their dinner that night. So so they came and I just made whatever, I don't know, tea, coffee. I think at the Philippines, and most of those people were not coffee drinkers; they were tea drinkers, which made it very interesting. So I made a couple pots of tea, and I always had baked goods in the house anyway because I always baked a lot. So anyway, I had something to feed them. It wasn't a meal. They only wanted to come for the afternoon, and they said they wanted to come here instead of going. They said we'd just like to relax with you, and we know we could do that in your house. So that's what we did. We just sat and talked and drank tea, and they were very happy. They didn't. They, it's quite wearing to keep going on one thing after another. And so they had this afternoon free. It was just three girls, and they wanted, instead of going off someplace on their own to a mall or to shop or what. It depended on who they were. And so they decided they wanted to. Could they spend the afternoon with me? How about that? I felt honored. When Harold, met all these people from these different countries when he was district governor and so forth, he had to go to various meetings and so forth, which was international. So a lot of these meetings, he would make friends from other countries. Well, while he was I guess when he was going to the governor's school, yeah, there was this one couple that, well, I made good friends with the wife of this one anyway, which we contacted back and forth many times. um, but let's see, how was I going to say this? Um, oh, one of these men called Harold one time. I guess he called him on the phone or wrote to him. I can't remember what it was, but said he has a good friend who has a daughter who wants to come to the United States. Would there be somebody who could meet her, like at the airport, and get her started with things in the United States? So, of course, who volunteered, Harold and me. And we met her at the airport in New York, at Kennedy Airport. And we brought her right to our house, of course. And oh, she was so nice. Of course, we had the room upstairs and with the bath, so she could have, it'd be private for her. So we didn't know how long she wanted to stay with us. And because she talked about she wanted to go to New York City and she wanted to go to all these other places. She wanted to go to Disneyland. She wanted to go there and she wanted to see Niagara Falls. Um, well, anyway, she came and she stayed with us, and we didn't know how long she wanted to, stay. Well, she stayed. She stayed. It was lovely though having her. The girls were gone then. It was like having another daughter staying with us. So she she stayed. She stayed with us for a week, and then the second week came along, and she didn't talk about going anyplace else. She liked it here, and we were taking her all over to see things. We took her out like to Montauk Point and all these various points on Long Island. So then she said she wanted to go down to Florida. She wanted to go see Disney. So she went there, and then she came back here. Every time she went any place, all of a sudden she came back here. She says, "Oh, it's so nice with you." So anyway, we had her, I don't know how many weeks now, but it was very nice to have her. She very sweet.